Hey guys, my name is Fabe and this is a behind the scenes video about my Minecraft and science video about atom models. So today I want to talk a little bit about what happened, how I had all the ideas and how I built all the stuff and how I did some of the animations that were in the video. But first of all, let's quickly talk about the initial idea for this Minecraft video, which I had over 3 years ago. The first version of the script for this video, I really wrote together 3 years ago. When I was doing YouTube just for a couple of months, this was always kind of like a goal for me to produce this kind of video. And around that time, I also started building these things here. Initially, I just thought it was just gonna be me walking around in first person and explaining things. You saw that the style changed quite drastically. So this is the first model, just random spheres. Then we have the watermelon model here by J.J. Thompson. And I built this melon like years ago, and I had built it completely out of wool, with all the pulp and the seeds inside as well. Then I moved on to the Rutherford model with the core and the electrons surrounding it and the atom being mostly empty. Then the orbitals, which I tried to demonstrate in 3D here. In the video I did it mostly just 2D because it's easier to see this way. And then we have, of course, the orbitals, which I pretty much took exactly like I built them 3 years ago and took them in this video. You can see them all the way back up there, but we're gonna get to that. So let's go maybe in chronological order. When I started, I built these watermelon molecules up in the sky for a little bit of a transition. Like I wanted really to go into the water and then enhance to see the molecules in the water once we are flying into that, and that's why I built this. I tried to build them as densely as possible so I could fly through them, and it seems more or less like there's water molecules everywhere around you. And of course, the red part is supposed to be the oxygen, while they are connected to 2 hydrogen atoms. That's why they look a little bit weird. I mean, it's really tough to get these really good without going like a huge scale. By the way, I should mention that this is the OCD pack, texture pack or resource pack that FV Disco, I believe, made also years ago. I don't know if he's still updating it, but I think he still is updating it. Alright, moving on from the water molecules, I built these spheres to introduce the concept of atoms, first of all. And then there was the electron, which I don't quite remember where I had it. Was it this one? Let's press this button. Yeah, this must have been the electron. So let me lead you guys behind a secret right off the bat. If we go in game mode 3, you guys can see all the electrons that you saw in the video, I think all of them, were actually armor stands with colored wool as their head. And is this the rotation? Oh, I can't access them now, can I? Great. All right, we have to go back to game mode 3. Let me see if I can get some redstone ready here, so maybe we can see how this looks. Yeah, there we go, rotating. So this is how I did the rotating electron in the beginning. So this is just a clock. This sets the block above to air, and this sets the block below to redstone block, so this get constantly placed newly, and hence it gives like a 20 times a second, I think, it gives a pulse to this redstone block, which rotates our armor stand by 45 degrees. And once I take it away, it stops rotating, and this just generates, let's go all the way to the left. This just generates the armor stand, which is invisible. Arms are shown, doesn't really matter. No gravity means it doesn't fall to the ground. And it has equipment, the wall on the head, with the damage value of 15, which is black. And I think I also named it Electron 9. Yeah, because I did that quite a bit, and I didn't want all of the electrons to behave the same way all the time. That's why I started to name them later on. But yeah, so much for the spinning electron, and I used this technique a lot later on, so you will see this again. This is actually how I kind of for the first time I started using command blocks and learning a little bit about it. This is probably doable way more efficiently, but it worked for me. And that was all. I should also mention, this is all still in 1.8, so none of the 1.9 features were in there. So I think the melon was the first real editing trick I used. As you can see, I pretty much took over the same design I had 3 years ago. I just replaced the wall with clay, or at least partially. I think this is the one I actually used. So let's take a look in there, shall we? The pulp is there. Oh no, this is not the one I used. Oh, maybe it is. Maybe it is, because what I actually did, I had many different copies of this world that I worked with. Yeah, this must be the one. So what I did, I used the Camera Studio mod for almost all of the clips, because back then the replay mod wasn't available, and I used the replay mod for a couple of clips. I'm going to explain that later. But I used the Camera Studio mod, so you have to input a path for the person and then it just moves along the path. So what I did is I defined a path, I recorded a sequence with the watermelon, then I destroyed half of it, and I added all the electrons and pulp in there, and then I used the same path again. Oh, wait a second, look at that, there it is. Those were just test melons, and that's the actual melon. Yeah, I destroyed it, and I left only the pulp behind, and those are all armor stands once again. I think next was already the Rutherford experiment, and that is also an interesting trick. Let's go to the little gold foil here. This is my alpha particle gun shooting on this gold foil, and then we have our detector film back here, and they are not moving right now, but as you probably guessed, once again, armor stands. And this is the alpha particle gun here. This is a little bit of a different kind of a clock. Alpha particle cannon. So what happens here is, let's see, does it actually still work? I haven't used it in a while. And it does! There you go. There's still this one additional one, but you can see it still works just fine. The alpha particle is moving through. And you can easily see how it works. The redstone block is getting teleported along this line here. So we have move the redstone block 1 over. That's basically this block. And this one is setting air here. So this one copies the block here, and this one down there sets air instead there. And this is why it's moving along, because they all are the same command blocks. So the redstone block just moves along, and the last one actually teleports it 15 blocks to the front again, so all the way to the beginning. And that is why this is a clock. And then we have these. Let's talk about this one first. This is once again, this sets the armor stand. Once again, armor stand at a certain coordinate. And this one has a wool head with the damage ID 14, which is either blue or red, I'm not quite sure. And this one is the other one. But I think I generate 2 armor stands every single time. And one of them is red, one of them is blue, and it is kind of random which of those 2 actually show up above the other. Yeah, that's I think how I did it. So it's random if there's a red or a blue one, because they are in each other, and it's just a matter of rendering which one is rendered first and which one is rendered second, which actually shows up, because there are always 2 particles flying. And this line of command blocks basically just teleports the block by 2 places apparently. Yeah. 2 blocks per command block. So that's why it moves that fast. Do I have a kill? I must have a kill switch back here. That destroys, yeah, kill all entities type armor stand name alpha. So that's how that works. All the armor stands get destroyed after they are used. And then we had this beautiful wall of spheres, and this is where the clone command really came handy, because I didn't want to build all these spheres, and so it's such a tedious task to build spheres in Minecraft. So I actually cloned most of them and just built a couple. And of course I built these alpha particles, which consist out of 2 protons and 2 neutrons, which is 4 nuclear particles. We might get into that later. I used the same trick as for the watermelon again. I did a camera path, zooming out, and then I got rid of all the spheres, and as you can see, there are little armor stands inside, with which are supposed to be the core of the gold atoms. because they are mostly empty. And so I could just get rid of all the spheres, and instead I recorded the same clip again with only the cores. And then I laid a half transparency over the layer, so it looked like the hull of the atoms were faded out a little bit. Neat little trick. If you're ever looking for this kind of stuff. I used this effect for the first time, I think, when I did my slime farm video. I transitioned to different killing methods there, which is where I initially experimented around with this kind of technique. Alright, let's move on. The next clip was actually this line here. And this 16th of a block, this painting I used here, represented the atomic core. And the whole rest represented the diameter of the atom itself. And I think it goes about 6,000 blocks in this direction. We're not going to fly there all the way. But yeah, this is also something I built years ago, and I just used it because I didn't want to build it again. Next in the video was the little atom and the centrifugal forces around here. Yeah, lots of armor stands, as you can see. Somehow I had them rotate without them actually oh, you know what I did? I just did like a rotation around it, like a camera movement. I didn't actually rotate the armor stands. That's what I did. I remember now. So pretty easy trick there. Nothing too special about that. Now, the next thing we actually had were the circular electrons, and I couldn't find them in this world. I had another world where I was initially testing command blocks, and I tried to get the circular movement of the electrons just right. So I experimented with command blocks first of all, but you probably saw it in a video even. The command block animation is not completely smooth, especially if you're trying to move it in a circle. And I really had trouble with that, so I also experimented around with actual spawners. That's the world where I initially tested out all these different clocks and all kinds of different stuff. And I think those three were my spawner testers. So if you look at that, let's go all the way to the left. We can actually, oh man, that's a really, really long command, but we set a block, Minecraft mob spawner, spawn count 1. I think, yeah, it has a long delay, so it doesn't really spawn anything actually. But the entity that it spawns is a minecart that is ridden by a block. I don't remember how I did it exactly, but it actually has a block on it. So let me try this. There's the mob spawner. And oh, there it is. You see it? That is how I tried to make the rotation first, because this is a lot smoother than a command block setup could ever be. And then I experimented around with several of them with different sizes, and I think I actually used that now that I see it. I'm pretty sure I used that setup after all. The problem is they change velocity if you wait for too long, which was a little bit annoying, but I think I got a clip where they maintained the velocity quite well. While we're here, we should also take a look at this, because this is something I was pretty proud of. So what we have here is an atom which has one orbit around it, and this orbit represents an electron, of course. And if we have a fast electron that gets shot at the atom, it gets excited and the orbit is actually widening to store all the energy, and the other one, the electron that collides with it, moves away slower. And as you can see here, we have both of the orbits right up there, and they actually get cloned in here by this little clock we see over here. Come on, let's stop this. This is getting annoying. Boop, boop, and a boop. This clock is what powers this one. What we do in the beginning is we summon the electron once again, all the way there. The ones on the side are just basically moving over the redstone block. This one is an important one because this one clones the big circle. You see, once the redstone block hits it, bam, big orbital. We can look at it again, bam, big orbital. And when it hits back here, oh no, this is not when it happens. When did it happen? Okay, this is the block that clones the small one. So this kills the electron that moves away. And this is still part of the TP electron. And over here, the clock restarts. So I have a little bit of a delay between every cycle of the clock to make it visible a little bit easier. Yeah, but this is the clone. This clones all the area around the small one and replaces the big orbital again. So this is the whole clock about that. I was very proud of this one, I gotta say. It's nothing too special now that you know how it works, but I think it turned out pretty well. Alright, we're back in the first world, and the next thing we saw was this little sketch of an atom, and that's of course pretty simple. I actually worked mostly with screenshots for that one, because there wasn't a whole lot of movement going on, and with the screenshots it was a lot easier to actually fade into different colors and gray out the rest of them. So that's what I mostly did with this. And then we had a little episode of our hydrogen atom on the street. So I built a hydrogen atom, and I had to build the street in a way that it looked infinite from both angles. So I think this is how I did it. I recorded one perspective by moving left with the hydrogen atom there in the upper part of the image, and then I recorded a clip of myself, which is of course not visible when I'm in game mode 3. I basically had a second account, and I was all the way up in the sky, so there was only blue behind me, and then I recorded my own character with another character from behind, and actually keyed out with the chroma key all the blue behind, so I only had my character. It works surprisingly well in Minecraft, the chroma key, since everything is just rendered. It's a lot harder to do that kind of stuff in real life. Yeah, but that's how I did the hydrogen atom on the street. I basically overlaid 2 videos, and one of them was color keyed behind the blue sky. Then I cut back and forth a little bit between this schematic and the excitation animation that we saw before. And the excitation animation was actually going on for a lot longer, and the rainbow beacon, that is a little bit trippy if you look at it, it was actually an addition that came really late to the video, like only a couple of weeks before I finally finished the video. And that was because some of my test subjects complained that the animation was going on for too long and it was getting boring. So I decided to basically represent all the frequencies of light, of the emitted light here. And this is how I recorded it. I built beacons all the way around, and I just turned myself around, and that gets really trippy really fast. Of course, this is not smooth, but yeah, you get the idea. That leads me to our discrete spectrum that was after that, and this is all the way up there in the sky. That was when I first experimented with beacons. I tried to make it actually accurate, like the distances between the absorption lines. But yeah, once again, just colored beacons in front of black wall. And I think all this behind here, initially I planned on activating these beacons one after another, so the beacons would appear and vanish on time, but I didn't like it, so I ended up with just showing like that. And then there were already the equations, I believe, so this is also something I worked on for a little bit. I think that was my first draft, and I think it's actually the one I worked with later on, all over there. I built a Schrödinger equation and the uncertainty principle, because those are the most important equations when it comes to quantum chemistry. And they are also pretty short. I mean, what stands within these terms is a whole other story by itself, but I don't think I would want to explain this in a Minecraft video. But yeah, that's the flight path I used. We have the Schrödinger equation, then the uncertainty principle comes up above. Nothing special here, once again. Just showing off what I did and what I put my time into. Then we had a little explosion sequence, which was actually a lot of work, because for every single time I tried it, I had to copy the world again and do it again. I actually set up also command blocks that were activating and spawning prime TNT that immediately exploded. I think on all these intersections here, on every side. I think that's how I did it eventually. I had to add more and more and more TNT with every single time I tried it. So eventually I just got sick of it and I just took what I had. It worked out fine. This is also, I think, the only video part where I actually used the sound that I had with it. Alright, we're coming to an end here. There's not much left. The only thing that is left is our electron that flew away. And here again, I used a similar technique to what I used for the atom of the street. So basically, I think I even just took a screenshot of a block in front of a blue sky and then keyed out the sky and recorded a clip of flying away from a bunch of, I don't know if it was this one, but it was electrons surrounding a core. I was just flying away from them, and at the same time I was overlaying the keyed out electron on the screen, so it was always in the foreground, and then I was slowly fading it out. Pretty simple at that, same trick. And the last segment was just the orbitals again. As I said, I used exactly the same one, like you can see down there. I just replaced the wool with glass because I thought it looked a little bit cooler. But yeah, I think that covers that pretty much, all the things. If there's still open questions concerning how I did certain things, leave them in the comments. I'm going to try and answer most of them. But yeah, overall I want to say thank you all so much for watching this. If you really enjoyed it, share my atom models video. As I said, I was working on it for over 3 years, on and off of course. But it was a lot of work, and I'm really, really proud of it. So I would really appreciate if you would share it with your friends and maybe other interested people. Anyways, I will see you guys soon. And seriously, don't be daft. Play some Minecraft.